It says another 18 seconds.
Okay, we'll wait till because I
13,
don't have both up.
12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 5. All right, and I'm going to turn my Facebook page off now.
So we are live, and we're just so excited to celebrate this day together. This is Deborah Owen. We are celebrating the book launch of Calm Parents, Confident Kids. And we are it's a day of celebration simply because there's been so much that has gone on into this book to come to the world in a way that's going to serve, I think, of the parents and the children both that will truly enjoy being able to read something like that. And there's a lot of parents that need this. So your chapter, Deborah, set the tone for the entire book to really open the just kind of the minds of readers to what was yet to come. What's
Mhm.
the name of your chapter, and why did you decide to write for a chapter for this book?
Yeah, it's the title is escaping my mind, but I think it's Train Your Brain, which is basically
For parents.
yeah, which is the whole point of it. And the reason I wrote this chapter is because I came to the whole brain training aspect as a teacher. I wanted to understand why some kids come from really difficult families, challenging home lives, and still excel, and other kids seem to have everything and they just don't seem to do very well in school at all. What's some of the differences? So I was really looking for an understanding of basic brain science for a teacher to try to figure out why do some things work for some people and not for others. And that's when I came across Dana Wilde. I became a big fan of hers, her Train Your Brain book and her system. And I got connected with her community. And I was also, as a teacher, I was beginning a parent coaching business at the time. And I felt like it just had a lot to offer to parents who could use it for themselves and then begin to teach it with their kids as well. And so my chapter is kind of the table setter for all of the other chapters that come afterward. I'm explaining what Dana has identified as what she calls the Train Your Brain system, and just kind of putting it in context for parenting.
Oh, beautiful. Are you still a teacher?
I am not right now. I left teaching in order to do parent coaching. And my business life has gone up and down and taken many different pathways. I write content right now for the community company, and I also am a coach with Enneagram as kind of my major emphasis, but I
Beautiful.
use a lot of the brain training aspects as I work with my clients as well.
Very interesting. And what grades did you teach when you were teaching?
I taught all grades, but the last 6 years I was at the high school level. So
Wow,
yeah,
brave soul.
I was a library teacher, so I got to teach reluctant teenagers how to do research.
What a brave soul. So,
It was fun. It was fun.
yes, it is. And if you can reach them and touch their hearts and get them spurred to doing something that is going to serve them for their future, it's so beautiful to watch those lights come on.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So, what is Train Your Brain, Dana Wilds? What's the premise behind it, and how does a parent put that to use?
I think there are a couple of key things to be conscious of, and that's actually one of the key words is it's turning the unconscious and making it conscious. So that's a big part of it. The another aspect, at least this is my perspective on it. Of course, I
Mhm.
have to say that I'm not certified in Dana's method or anything like that. But this is my interpretation and the way that I use it. So it's making the unconscious conscious, which is a huge piece of it. Another piece of it then is also integrating your emotions and your thoughts, because we get to choose our thoughts, and most people don't realize that. They don't realize that you can actually decide, I'm going to focus on feeling yucky, or I'm going to decide I just don't want to live there anymore, and I'm going to focus on feeling better. And your emotions have a huge role to play in what happens to you. I'm sure we've
Yes.
all, yeah, it really happens. Like I'm sure all of us know people, one or two or even three people who whose lives are like they have this little black cloud following them around, right?
Hmm.
Nothing ever seems to go right for them. And a lot of it is because of their attitude and how they think things are going to work out and what they
Well,
focus on. Yeah.
yes. And I think you can choose to be happy too,
Yeah.
and make conscious decisions to, well, this day is going to be a beautiful day. This is a beautiful day, but, for me, I grew up in a kind of very tough environment, and it felt like my whole life had a cloud over it all the
Mhm.
time, and I was always sad, and had
Mhm.
a little depression going on at the same time. But when as I became an adult and started finding my way in the world, I discovered I did have a choice, and I didn't always have to live with that cloud. That I
Mhm.
could rise above it. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen again now and again when triggers or things like that, but for being aware of it makes a big difference.
Right. And that goes back to my first statement, which is a big part of brain training is making the unconscious conscious. And it's really about self-awareness. I guess you could say that's another term for it is recognizing what am I thinking about? And in educational circles, we call that metacognition, being thinking about our thoughts. And what am I thinking about? What's going through my brain? What triggers what's going through my brain? That's another really important piece of this is if you begin to recognize that when, if I'm a parent, right? If I've got a teenage daughter, which I did at one point, she's no longer a teenager.
She's no longer.
And she'll say something that triggers me, and I have a choice. I can either get angry at her, or I can take a deep breath and collect my thoughts and respond to her in a way that is not, coming from my fight or flight instinct. So I
Right.
think that's a big piece of it is recognizing your response to your children. What's your automatic response? Well, I don't want my automatic response to be negative. I want my automatic response, even if she has said something that could potentially trigger me, I want my automatic response to be, I'm going to take a breath, I'm going to stop, I'm going to think about it. And
Mm,
it starts with
absolutely.
us as the parents.
It does. We have to lead by example. And if we can do that, they start to take notice as well.
Well,
Yeah.
particularly if we articulate what we're doing. Like in
Right.
that situation, I could say, you've just said something that really is upsetting to me, but I'm going to go take myself in a timeout, collect my thoughts, take a deep breath, and then when I come back, we're going to talk about this. And, so you actually articulate for your children that I am controlling or managing my emotions. I'm recognizing it first. And second, I'm choosing what kind of emotion I want to come back and respond to you with.
Beautiful, beautiful. In your chapter, you talk about the secret to getting kids' attention. What are you talking about with that? When we can have, especially when you're raising children or when you're teaching more, especially,
Mhm.
you have such a wide variety of situations where these kids are coming from. In a school setting, how do you get their attention? How do you get them to start paying attention to what you're teaching?
Yeah, I mean, school setting is going to be different than in a home situation
Absolutely. Yeah.
because you've got a room full of anywhere from 20 to 30 kids. If
It's a
you're lucky.
mountain.
Yeah, I mean, if you're lucky, I know there are some classrooms that have more than 30 kids, which is crazy, but
It's hard. I don't know how they do it.
yeah. Um, so that's going to be a very different situation, and that goes into just really paying attention to what are their interactions, what are they doing, what does it look like they're thinking about, and what might trigger them. And so you need to really pay attention to that in a large group situation. In terms of with your own kids, and I'm going to assume that we're talking about anywhere from 1 to 5, although we certainly know families with more than 5 children. But, you get to know your own children, you know what makes them tick, you know what triggers them, and you know what they're excited about. And so just getting their attention, one of the things I've learned as a parenting coach is to get a child's attention is you don't yell, you actually talk really quietly. And and I've done that with classrooms too. You just talk quietly until they realize, oh, this person, whether it's the teacher or the parent, they're not yelling, and they would normally be yelling, and they're not. So I better quiet
your process?
Faster lots of times than a loud voice. I'll just say that.
Oh, that's beautiful. So in this chapter, Train Your Brain for Parents, in the work that you do in the world with teaching, you work with parents, I'm assuming, in your work.
Well, right now I'm a coach, and I primarily advertise myself as a coach who uses the Enneagram. And so I'm working with some young adults and some other adults who are just looking to have better reactions, say with their colleagues at work or with their families, and so that's where I'm doing a lot of my coaching right now.
And does it tie together with the Train Your Brain, what you've learned? Were you able to just kind of pull all of that together?
Yes, for sure. Again, it comes back to making the unconscious conscious. And I find that for me, training your brain, the first piece that is really powerful is just recognizing, oh, wait a minute, I'm doing this thing that never gets me good results, and I'm doing it again. Why am I doing it? I'm also very invested in discipleship, and so I'm always looking for scriptural references and how do we exemplify the life of Jesus as we grow. And so one of the things that I'm looking at is how am I turning this interaction that I'm having with somebody and actually trying to figure out, how do I have a better interaction with someone, and how does that help me become a better person? How does that make me, in my situation, in the coaching, a lot of the coaching that I do, how does that help me become more like Christ? Because I want to be the best person that I can be. And there are so many scriptural references about renewing the mind and focusing on things that are good and not bad. I mean, Paul writes about that all the time, and just having a new mind and putting off the old person so that you can become a new person. So it integrates really, really well with a lot of the work that I'm doing right now.
Very, very interesting. So we have a question in our chat: is what is Enneagram?
Oh, thank you for asking. The Enneagram is it's often called a personality tool, but it's more than just like the DISC or some of these other personality tools. It's a way of helping you recognize what your gifts are and your challenges. And what has been determined is there are, in essence, 9 basic personality types. There's a lot more to it than that, obviously, but most people fall into patterns of certain personality types. And once you begin to recognize those patterns, you can begin to change those patterns. And that's why brain training is so useful with the Enneagram too, because it's all about patterns, recognizing the patterns that we don't want and creating new patterns that will give us better results.
Beautiful. That's interesting. And I would think that once a person became aware of it, then they're able to choose the thoughts that they have. They're able to choose how they react too. Like we started this conversation with.
Right. Right.
So how would a person, if they wanted to work with you, how would they reach out to you? How do they get a hold of you?
I would love to have a chat with anybody who's listening to this or watching this. And the easiest way to reach me is just to write to me at deborahcowen.com. And I'll spell that out because there are different spellings. It's DEBBIE, Debbie at Deborah, DEBORAHC for my middle name, Owen, OWEN.com.
All right. I put that in the comments below, and it won't go everywhere, but it will go to a few places.
Okay, good. Thank you.
So in deciding to participate in this book project, because there's a lot of work when it comes to everybody combining what they have and what they want to bring to the table as far as a book that's a compilation, or where it's a group effort. What's been your experience as you've seen this book come together, and what brings you joy as far as this now book being available into the world?
Okay, I'm going to come at this from two different lenses. One lens is I was the editor of the book.
Was,
So
I
people
remember
submitted
that.
their
Yeah.
stories and their chapters, and I spent a great deal of time editing and massaging and making things feel like they connected. And I'm sure I missed a few things here and there, but overall, I read the whole thing a lot.
It's the nature of the beast. It's easy to
Yes,
miss stuff.
yes, I know. I missed a few
Yeah.
things, but I think we managed to put together a book that's easy to read, that's fun to read, and that makes sense for people. Just on a quick, that you can just sit down and read a chapter a day and say, oh, that's something I can take with me today. And the next day you read the next chapter. Oh, I love that story. I can take that with me. And so I think that that's one aspect of it. And then in terms of my participation as a coach, I was just excited to be able to offer my perspective, which is the scientific aspect of things, is because a lot of people talk about what is it, the law of attraction or something like that, and honestly, it's scientific. It's the reticular activating system. It's not some mumbo jumbo or hocus pocus or anything like that. It's actually changing what you think about and what you focus on and how you feel about it, and being aware of things and not just letting your thoughts run amok. I mean, I have to stop myself. I can't tell you how almost every day I catch myself and say, "Oh, I'm going down that rabbit hole," and I
I
don't
think
really
we all do. We
down
all
there.
have to stop and pay attention. Yeah. I used to have a song that I sang when I homeschooled my kids, and it was "What I focus on expands." And it was so true, and I needed it just as much for me as what I was trying to teach them. So that was beautiful.
Mhm.
Well, and I have another author I'm working with who works actually at NASA, and she builds rocket ships, and she's writing a book called Quantum Human, and she says science and spirituality just dovetail. There's no separation to it,
No.
and her book is just fantastic. But it's all along this same line of thought, is what our thoughts can do, and the many things that the challenges we have to kind of to recognize, catch it, and make the choices to choose a different way of thinking and
Yeah,
being in the world.
yeah,
And we're all leaders.
yes, yes. I love that, being world leaders. That's great. I think you're right. And from my perspective, I just really feel like God created us to be integrated human beings, head, heart, and body. And that's what the Enneagram is about. It has the three pieces, and we're integrated, and we are created to be beautiful human beings and to
We are.
love God and love each other. And we can't do that if we're not paying attention to what pulls us away from being all that we were created to be.
So very true. That is beautiful. And I think that what in my observation, that humanity is waking up to the the world around us, because there's more and more of us that are becoming aware of this kind of thinking, is that it's rippling out, the ripple effects, and the books that are coming out, the people that are sharing, where it's a ripple effect out on the world. And I think it makes a big difference, because the more of us that teach our children this way, our grandchildren this way, the more of the better this world will be for future generations. And
Yeah.
it's really beautiful. I feel honored to be a part of this whole book and getting it out to the world. I just really feel blessed, because it's just exactly what we need in our world. And thank you thank you for being, choosing to be a part of this, for stepping up in the way that you did. And for those that
you're doing too, Becky, we really appreciate your
thank
efforts
you.
as well.
Thank you. So we'll conclude this interview today. Be sure and reach out to Deborah. You'll see her email in the chat. And if you're on her social media, you'll know how to get a hold of her that way as well. But pick up a copy of this book. I was just looking at the stats here, and we are, this book in the paperback version, it already has 41 ratings. A lot of people are saying good things about it. If you have picked up a copy, be sure and leave a review here on Amazon. But we're also a #1 new release in Children's Studies Social Science. So that's pretty exciting. So what a cool time, and thank you. I'm so delighted to have met you and have read your chapter.
Great. Thank you so much. It was wonderful to speak with you too.
Awesome. Thank you. All
Okay.
right. Bye-bye.